Hello and welcome back to All Things Money. I'm your host, David Blain. During today's show, we talked a little bit about inactive broker accounts, and we started talking about credit report myths. And it's been one of those days, a lot happening this morning around the office. I failed to give out the phone number and email. Of course, a lot of you regular listeners already know it, but for those of you maybe just joining in or tuning in for the first time, you can contact us at phone number 252-633-0107. Our email for the show is allthingsmoney@dlblain.com. And of course, you can go to the website at dlblain.com. That's dlblain.com. And there you'll find information about myself, my firm, as well as archived copies of the show. So if you have any comments or questions, we get a lot of our ideas for the show from viewers and listeners just like you. So please give us a call or contact us if you have any comments or questions. Okay, back to, we're talking a little bit about credit reports. As I mentioned last segment, we like to see people pay cash for things. We don't like to see people have excessive borrowing. But if you do find yourself having to borrow money, you have this thing called a credit report. And there are a lot of myths surrounding it. We covered the first two. Your credit report does not have your credit score, and your credit report does not have things such as your race, your income level, your bank accounts, your brokerage accounts, things like that. It's just information about your credit score. Another one is that if you check your credit report too often, it will hurt your score. You could check your own credit every 5 minutes of every day, and it would not affect your credit score. That's from Cliff O'Neill, who's at TransUnion, one of the big three credit reporting agencies. Says it has no impact whatsoever. However, if you give a lender permission to pull your credit score, it can affect your credit. Now, most of the credit agencies realize that if you're going to buy a car and maybe you have the dealer pull your credit and maybe you have your bank pull your credit and maybe you go to a credit union, and so they generally look at credit reports pulled within a 30-day time period as one time. The other thing that when people that have credit cards or something like that make a credit inquiry to send you a pre-approved offer, that doesn't count as pulling your credit as well. Another myth, if you pay off a delinquent debt, that missed payment is removed from your credit report. That's incorrect. If you pay off an account, it stays on your credit report and may take up to 7 years for it to fall off your credit report. Because once again, the people loaning money are trying to determine the credit worthiness. And so if you paid off an account and it went away, well, that information that you were delinquent would fall off. So make sure that you keep current on all your accounts. Another big myth, when you get married, that your credit reports merge. That's incorrect. Each person has their own credit report. And so sometimes I've seen if you're going to buy a house, maybe one spouse had a bankruptcy or something like that. Sometimes they'll just pull it on one of the spouse or put the loan in one of the spouse's name. But just because you're married, you still have two separate reports. And likewise, if you get divorced, it's still two separate reports. Now, if you sign up for a joint debt, then it's going to appear on both of your reports. If you had a joint debt and you get divorced, once again, it's still going to stay on both of your reports. Another big myth is that the credit agencies are somehow responsible for granting or denying you credit. That's not true. The institution that is looking to loan you money is the sole determinant of that. If you have a FICO score of 200, I don't even know if that's possible. I know the high ones are in the 800s. But if you have a 200 credit score and, Billy Joe's used cars down on 70 wants to loan you money to buy one of their used cars and you have a FICO score of 200, well, that's up to them. The credit agency, Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, they have no input into that whatsoever other than just giving a FICO score. Another myth is if you pay all your bills on time that you don't need to check your credit report. This is a big myth. Number one, you should be looking for accounts that are closed, that are eligible to come off your credit report. Number two, you want to be looking, if you've never been late, it doesn't mean that it doesn't get reported incorrectly as late. The other thing that you see is maybe you have someone with a similar name or a Social Security number that's off by one digit. It's not uncommon to see someone else's information placed on your credit report. So you're looking for things that don't belong on your credit report at all, i.e. they're someone else's. You're also looking to make sure that what is on there that is yours is correct. Loan balances, late payment information, things like that. So even if you have a high credit score, if you're never late, no bankruptcy, things like that, you still want to go ahead and check your credit once a year just to make sure what's going on with your credit report. It's also a good idea, if you don't plan on borrowing any money, to go ahead and put a lock on your credit report. There are ways to do that so that people can't pull your credit without going through some extra steps, and that's a good step to help prevent identity theft. So just in summary, a couple of myths. Your credit score is not on your credit report. Your credit report does not have anything about your income or assets or things like that. Checking your own credit score does nothing to affect the score itself. If you pay off a delinquent debt, the account still stays on your credit report. Well, that brings us up to our second break. I'm your host, David Blain, and we'll be right back.